Hello everyone. So welcome to the next session in our Modern Indian History course. And today we'll be talking about session number 42, that is the Congress rule in the provinces. Take, let us start. So let's first talk about the summary of the session. We have already discussed that after the two-stage debate, stage 1, stage 2 in between Government of India Act, they've decided to fight the election. They won majority. They'll form governments in a lot of provinces. And when they'll form the government, a lot of expectation will be there of the people, because now they have seen the Indians at the helm of the politics, right? The ministers, the chief ministers of Indian chief ministers, unimaginable 20 years ago or 10 years ago. So based upon their manifesto, they'll try to do a lot of things. But right, everyone, you cannot satisfy all sections of society. You cannot satisfy the rights and the lefts both. You cannot satisfy the capitalist and the labor both. You cannot satisfy the zamindars and the peasants both. And hence, there will be some positives and there will be some negatives. You cannot satisfy all sections of society. There is a divergent needs are there of each and every section of society. Sometimes divergent and sometimes contradictory needs of the each and every section of society. And that's what we'll witness today, the role or the how the Congress ministries have fared. If you look at this map, so these are the states where the Congress has finally formed the government: United Province, Bihar and Odisha, Bengal, Assam, Central Province, Bombay, Madras, United Party in Sindh, and Unionist Party in Punjab, and WFP, the government of Congress is there. One question that must rise in your mind: that where is Muslim League? Muslim League is nowhere. That is one of the seminal moment in with respect to your communalism in India and road to partition. Muslim League was not in any government. Muslim League, in fact, some people argue, Muslim League has asked Congress that let us share party. For example, whether the Congress is in majority in a lot of provinces, let us say in Bengal, let us share let's have the Muslim League and let's make a national front government, or let's make a united government, coalition government. Give Muslim League also the participation in the formation of the government, but Congress rejected. Muslim League was shattered. Even in the Muslim majority provinces, they were not able to win. For example, in WFP, Punjab, Sindh, not able to win. What to do now? Achha, in between, these are the areas, these are the princely states where the elections have not happened. Right? These are the princely states. Now the Muslim League will be from the mindset that देखो हमें कुछ नहीं मिला, we did not get anything. So what we need to do, we need to up the ante. We need to put now this nationalist discourse of the Muslim. For example, Muhammad Ali Jinnah fought this election on the based of the nationalist discourse, similar to Congress. Nationalist discourse. But when they have lost the election, they have fought that we need to do something which is different from Congress, at least to win seat, at least to win all the Muslim seats. And later on, they will form this communal agenda. They will become very, very communal, Muslim League. Everything related to religion, everything from separatism, the demand of the Pakistan after 2 years, 3 years after the demand of the Pakistan will come, we'll see. And the Muslim League, the major event which has happened, which has given the push to them, that is a defeat in this election. They thought that they will win there some part, at least some Muslim League, some Muslim majority provinces. They will form government somewhere, but they're not able to. So it was shattered. Now let's come back to Congress. So Gandhi advised congressmen to hold this office lightly, not tightly. These are the crowns of the throne. Gandhi advised this office should be used as a way not expected and intended by the British. How British, we have discussed how British long-term strategy. These officers should not be looked from this angle. This officer should be looked from the different angle, from this angle, what Gandhi ji has said. Okay? Then there was a great enthusiasm among the people. Suppressed mass energy has been released, increasing the prestige of the Congress as well. It showed that it could not lead people, but also use the state power for their benefit. But the Congress ministry have some limitations. That क्या limitation they could not by ICS officers they have to work with Indian civil service. These were the British. not British, but British mindset. Change the basic imperial character of the movement, and plus they do not have the a lot of finance, a lot of power. So they have very limited resources at their disposal, and plus a lot of power was not given to the ministries, Congress, government. Governor has a lot of power within the province also. But their whole work can be divided into four areas. First, the work for the civil liberties, then agrarian reforms, social welfare measures, and the attitude towards the labor. Let us look at it one by one. Then we'll discuss some specific in the coming session. With respect to civil liberties, all the laws that provided emergency power to the government of the day have been repealed. So first thing is that, so as those laws cannot be used for the suppression of the civil liberties. Then press freedom efforts have been taken. Gagging Act, for example, if they need removed. Police power have been reduced, especially the arbitrary powers of the police have been reduced. The political prisoners were being released. Political prisoners जो थे, they were being released. Land confiscated under the CDM of the, a lot of land was confiscated of this from the civil disobedience movement, that was restored. So these were the civil liberties which were being, which is the work in the civil liberty phase. Then with respect to agrarian reform, they have taken a lot of legislative measures related to land reform, debt relief, forest grazing fee reduced, areas of the rent reduced, land tenures made more permanent, and these things they have done. With respect to labor, they wanted to harmonize, or they want to find a middle path between the capitalist, Indian capitalist, and the labor class, so that labor class is not exploited, and the capitalist should get the environment of the, they should get the environment of the peace to do their capital activity or to perform their industrial activity. So there has to be a balance between both the sides, workers' interest and the industrial peace. Then social welfare reforms, prohibition imposed in certain areas, measures for Harijan, attention given to the primary, technical, and higher education, prison reforms were being done, encouragement to indigenous enterprise, these things. So a lot of social reforms, temple entry movement, and for Harijan, for example, the constructive work got the formalization with respect to ministries. So now the at the ministerial level, this can be done. So very, very good things being done at the social welfare level. Let us look at it one by one. So civil liberties, we have discussed the positive sides of it, but somewhere it was a lot of problem. For example, let us imagine you are a minister, Congress minister, nationalist and everything. But in your province, let us say this is your province, and a lot of Indian leaders are protesting, but they're violent. The protest is going very violent. For example, Indian communist or leftist, very violent means here using extra constitution. Even if you are trying to placate it, what you'll do later on, you'll arrest them. You have no option but to, you are not, they are not listening to you. You are Indian, they are Indian, both are fighting against the British in different ways, obviously, but they're not listening to you. So obviously there will be a lot of instances when these people will be, for example, KM Munshi used CID against the communist and the leftist. A lot of socialists arrested, this socialist arrested for 6 months. So obviously they cannot satisfy all sections of society. Then with respect to the agrarian agenda, again the lot was not done. We have seen a lot of legislatures being done, land tenure and all these things, but ultimately not a lot was not done. One was also the conflict of interest. We have already discussed that. A lot of zamindars and the big people who have those holding those vested interests, they became the part of the government, or they are the one who are supporting the government with respect to money or with respect to anything. These are the powerful sections of society having a hold over the land and all these things. So the Congress ministry did not have an adequate power to deal with them or to make such a radical reform. For example, zamindari abolition that happened post independence cannot happen at that time. Inadequate financial resources were inadequate. Zamindars have to be conciliated and neutralized. Since logic confrontation and not since the logic was the confrontation and not the cooperation with the colonialism, hence they cannot seek a lot of cooperation from the center. States cannot seek a lot of cooperation from the center because the idea was to confront, not to cooperate. The agrarian structure was very complex, the land tenure and everything. And then, just like there is an legislative assembly, similarly legislative council in the states. So though the legislative assembly have the Indians, but legislative council is filled up with these people such as landlords, money lenders, capitalists, and all these things. So these are the very conservative chamber. So sometimes if they want to get something passed, these people will be breakwaters with respect to that. They will not let it pass, or they will delay it at least. So these are the constraints the Congress face with respect to the agrarian reforms. Attitude towards labor. Ministries treated militant trade union protests as law and order problem and acted as a mediator as far as possible. This was successful, but not in Bombay. All leftist critics were not satisfied by the approach. Obviously, if the government is there, they want to do something. Leftists will not be happy because they demand this. The government can give this only. So this much undesired always will be there. Nehru was unhappy about these repressive measures, for example, arresting the leaders. We have seen how the socialists are being arrested and all these things. And in public, supported the ministries to protect them pity and permanent criticism. Gandhi was also against the militant and the violent methods. He stood for the political education of the masses. He felt that political base of the Congress should not erode, and he appealed to congressmen against frequent resort to colonial laws and machinery. But that was being used by the Congress machinery. That is the main idea. So apart from those four things, social welfare we've discussed. Parallelly, Congress was also doing the mass politics. As it was not like that they will lose the mass politics. For example, launching of the mass literacy campaign, setting up the Congress police station, panchayat, Congress grievance redressal, state people's movement. State means princely states. So in these states, the movement also continued. So these are the extra parliamentary activity of the Congress were going on. So finally, if we evaluate the 28 months of the Congress, we'll see how they resign. So obviously some positives are there. We'll see. For example, the Indians got the taste that if how will the things will be in the future when the Congress will be or the Indians will be at the power. They will try to do something good. The prestige is increased. The confidence of the Indians have increased. Now they can lead. Because one of the challenge of the Birkenhead was what? Remember, Nehru report. That Indians cannot lead anything. They are good for nothing. They can only come on the street and they can only demonstrate. No. We can also fight in the street. We can also be in the parliament. We can also legislate. We can also execute. So that is the idea. That self-confidence got into the Congress that whatever we are doing it right. We have the right leaders to pull off this. So let us see one by one. So contention that the Indian self-government was necessary for radical social transformation got confirmed. That if we need a radical socio-economic transformation of the country, then we need Indian rule. We need to get the British out of it. We need to make them quit India. Right? So the British should not be in India, or British should not be at the helm of the affairs if we want to do any radical socio-economic reform. The movements could use the state power to further its ends without being co-opted. That we can use the state power without being co-opted. Ministries were be able to control the communal riots. Morale of the bureaucracy came down. ICS officers, because they've seen the Congress ministers ever and how they are working. Indian and ICS officer is also Indian. So they also felt ki bhai nahi, we need to work with Indians only. Council helped neutralize many erstwhile hostile elements. For example, Zamindar and all. Indians are fit to rule, and people got the feeling that shape of things to come with the independence. This is the significance of the 28th month Congress rule. Quickly, in October 1939, we will see at the outbreak of the World War I and after to and fro, Congress ministry will resign. The huge Congress victory in the election has aroused the hope of the industrial working class. There were increased militancy and industrial unrest in Bombay, Gujarat, United Province, and Bengal. At a time was Congress was drawn into closer friendship with the Indian capitalist. Because Indian labor was very in a lot of problems, wage problem, this problem, that problem. So they thought that if the Congress ministries will be formed, we will be able to get some justice. This resulted in what appeared to be an anti-labor shift in the Congress attitude that led to Bombay Trade Dispute Act in 1938. We will see that. We will see in a separate video how this labor movement went. Okay? So the anti-labor shift in the Congress, Bombay Trade Dispute Act and everything. And because Congress is also facing the problem, Congress, a lot of members of the Congress are the capitalists actually, or they're being supported by the capitalists. A lot of people argue that a lot of friends of the Gandhiji were capitalists. Gandhiji used to stay in the, whenever he used to go Bombay or Delhi, he used to stay in the home of the people who were capitalists. Congress leadership faced with another dilemma: how to react to a situation in the princely state. Should Congress should support Prajamandal movement or for greater democracy or not? For example, whatever the movements which are going on in the states, whether we should support that or not. If you remember, we have discussed in the one of the questions, the Nagpur session 1920. Congress in a bit talked about the princely states movement, that you continue your movement, will support you, but don't take the name of the Congress. That's the idea. Meanwhile, All India Muslim League annoyed with the Congress for not sharing the power with them, especially not power, we have discussed that, established the Pirpur Committee in 1938 to prepare a detailed report on the atrocities supposedly committed by the Congress ministries. So obviously they were not happy. They will prepare this report committee. They'll say how this Congress has done this thing. They have favored the Hindu majority, not Muslim majority, communalizing the agenda. That if you put Hindus, or if you put Hindus at the power, if you don't give power to Muslim League, telling to Muslims, then this thing will happen to you. Atrocity will be committed, communal riots will be committed. You will not be given any benefit. Every benefit will be given to Hindus. They charged Congress of interfering in the religious rights, suppression of the Urdu in the favor of Hindi, denial of the proper representation, and the oppression of Muslim in the economic sphere. Congress were forced to realize that being in power and actually running the administration was not easy, and all section of population had such a high expectation as could not fulfill at all at once. Okay? So Congress was forced to realize this thing. So with respect to this, that's the end of the session, and now I'll solve few questions. So what we have discussed today, chalo question ke baad, let us summarize. Few questions, 5 to 6 questions. First question: Gandhiji set up Tolstoy farm in the South Africa in 1910. In this context, which of the following statements are correct? It was set up to house the families of Satyagrahi. It was funded by the National Congress and the Muslim League. Tolstoy farm. So the Tolstoy farm, yes. First, Gandhiji established the Tolstoy farm, made possible through the generosity of the German architect friend Kallenbach, to house the family of Satyagrahi, give them a way to sustain themselves. It was founded in 1910, disbanded in 1913, proved to be an ideal laboratory for Gandhi's educational experiment. Funds came from Ratan Tata, Congress, and the Muslim League as well as Nizam of Hyderabad made their contribution. So remember, funds came from a lot of people. So it was a headquarter of the campaign of the Satyagraha against the discrimination against the Indian in Transvaal. So both the statements are right. That it was home to family of Satyagrahi, and it was funded by the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League, Ratan Tata and the Nizam of the Hyderabad as well. Next question is: consider the following statements regarding the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Saifuddin Kichlu and Dr. Satyapal were the local leaders in Punjab for whom the Swadeshi protests were organized. Gandhi gave up his Kaisar-e-Hind and Rabindranath Tagore renowned knighthood. Udham Singh assassinated Dyer, suppression of the who presided over the suppression 1990 protest. No Indians were included in the Hunter Committee that was set up to inquire into the excesses done by the General Dyer. Pause the video and try to answer the question. It's a good question. So the first statement is yes, Dr. Saifuddin Kichlu and we have seen Dr. Satyapal were the local leaders, those who were talking about the Rowlatt Satyagraha, that we need to fight against this Rowlatt Act, and they were being arrested. Second, Gandhi gave up his Kaisar-e-Hind and Tagore. Yes, this is also right. Third, Udham Singh assassinated General Ghadar. No, we have discussed that in detail. No, this was not the case. He assassinated Michael O'Dwyer, who was the lieutenant governor who did not preside over this. Who has presided over, that is Renigal Dyer. He died in 1927. So hum discuss kar chuke hain that thing. And yes, Indians were there in the Hunter Committee that I highlighted when we were discussing about the Hunter Committee. The Indians were there in that particular committee. So Kichlu and Satyapal, Brigadier General Renigal Dyer, Renegar Dyer was the senior British official with the responsibility. Just 1 second, sorry. With the responsibility of maintaining the martial law and restoring the order. Tick. So this was the Renegar Dyer. Next is on the Baisakhi Day we have seen. Sorry, yes. So Gandhi ji, Rabindranath Tagore knighthood, Gandhi ji Kaisar Hind, right? They have given. Then Udham Singh assassinated Michael O'Dyer. ठीक है, he did not assassinated this Renegal Dyer. तो ध्यान रखना है, that is an important thing. And there were Indians in the Hunter Committee report. So answer is 1 and 2. First statement, second statement, third and fourth is wrong. Revise हो गया एक बार, what all the points that we have discussed. Consider the following statement from the about the Nehru report. It provided the dominion status as the form of the government in India. It rejected the principle of the separate communal electorate. It agreed on the reserving the seats for Muslim at the center and the province where they were in majority. Pause and try. Consider the following statements about the Nehru report. It provided for dominion status. Yes. It rejected the separate electorate. Yes. It agreed upon reserving the seat for Muslim at central in the provinces where in majority. No. They were in minority, not in majority. Majority was the demand of the Muslim League. So for statement 1 and 2 is wrong. Right and third is wrong. So 1 and 2 is right. Next question. Which of the following statements with reference to the famous 14 point by Muhammad Ali Jinnah? 14 points were proposed by Jinnah in response to his dissatisfaction with Montagu Chelmsford reform. A unitary constitution with limited power to the province was one of his proposals. He also proposed the separation of Sindh province from the Bombay. Pause and try. Muhammad Ali Jinnah. So 14 point in response to Montagu Chelmsford reform? No, it was in response to Nehru report. So first statement is wrong. First statement is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. 2 and 3. Second statement is also wrong. Unitary constitution? No, we have discussed Muslim League minorities will always demand a federal constitution and the residuary powers with the provinces so as to get the autonomy. And the third is yes, he proposed in this from the we have discussed this. Though statement 1 and 2 is wrong, third statement is right. Next is which of the following events occurred during the second phase of the civil disobedience movement? Second phase of the civil disobedience. Organization of Khudai Khidmatgar Society by Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan. Revolt led by Rani Gadenliu. Refusal by Garwari soldier to fire on a mass demonstration and Peshawar. I have already told you to discuss the different phases, different arenas or the spread of the civil disobedience movement. So please do read that. So Khudai Khidmatgar second movement started by Gandhiji in 1930 with the famous Dandi March. Movement spread to different parts of the country under the leadership of Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, that is Frontier Gandhi. Pathan organized the Khudai Khidmatgar, that is Red Shirts. In Nagaland, Rani Gaidenliu was there at the age of 13, responded to the call of Gandhiji and under the raised the banner against the foreign rule. And in the Peshawar, Chandar Singh Garwali is very famous, you see, known as hero of the Peshawar revolt. So here the arm was revolt that they failed, that they said that that we will not fire at the mass demonstration that is there happening in the Peshawar, that happened in the Jallianwala Bagh. So he was a leader, Chandar Singh Garwali, leader of the Garwali rifle regime that revolted against their order by refusing to open fire on the group of armed Pathans who were resisting the British rule using the non-violent method, preventing another Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So very important person, that is Chandar Singh Garwali. You can use his example in ethics also. When you are asked to obey some laws and then you defy these laws, speaking to your conscience. Okay. So all the three statements are right. Next question is with reference to the Harijan campaign. Its origin can be traced to All India Untouchability League of 1932 of Gandhiji. It generated support throughout the country. We have not discussed it, but let's. So Gandhi's Harijan campaign was determined to undo the divisive intention of the government divide and rule policy, and especially the communal award. Right. So Gandhiji launched the campaign against the untouchability first from the jail and later after his release. In the jail, he set up All India Anti-Untouchability League, All India Anti-Untouchability League in September 1932 and started the weekly Harijan in January 1933. Starting from Varda, he conducted the Harijan tour. He established the Harijan Sevak Sangh. He attacked by the orthodox and the reactionary elements. Right? These elements disrupted the meetings, held black flag demonstration against him and accused him of attacking the Hinduism. So he was under attack by both. When you take up the cause of untouchability, Gandhi, he was attacked first from the right-wing Hindus. That you are, in a way, if you are protesting against it, you are protesting against the Hinduism itself. And he was attacked by the B.R. Ambedkar as well. Those who are champions of, they're saying you're not doing enough, or whatever you're doing is just symbolic. So he was under attack from both the sides. They also offered support to government against the Congress and civil disobedience movement, these reactionary elements. Congress obliged them by defeating the temple entry movement in August 1934. Orthodox Hindu opinion in Bengal was against the acceptance of the permanent caste Hindus minority status by the Pune Pact. तो उससे भी reservation से भी they are not happy. The current reservation debate you can see. So first statement is fine, second statement is wrong. It did not generate support throughout the country. Gandhi ने कुछ भी किया, wherever Gandhi has put his hand, there is controversy because he was a mass leader, right? So with respect to that, that's the end of the session, everyone. Today we have discussed, क्या discuss किया हमने? Congress rule in the provinces. Congress rule in the provinces is basically 28 months that was there. And those 28 months, Congress did try to do whatever they could do with the limited resources, power, and the limited cooperation with the central government that they can. But whatever they have done, it gave a lot of confidence to the Indians that yes, we can rule. And what would be India if we get the independence? And why we should seek independence? So a taste of the independence somehow, taste of the self-rule. So with this, we finish this particular session. Only few sessions are left out in theme 7. 5 to 6 sessions are left out. We'll see those sessions. And after that, we'll finish our modern Indian history course. With that, bye-bye. See you all in the next class. Thank you.